Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? So we are now just 10 months away from the official release of Star Wars Episode 9 by writer and director J.J. Abrams. Now, with each day that passes, we are only getting closer to Star Wars Celebration 2019 over in Chicago, which will be the place in which we will see the official teaser trailer of this movie. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one thing that a lot of people had issues with in The Last Jedi was exactly how the character of Luke Skywalker was used and written by writer and director Rian Johnson, and the path that he wanted to take Luke on in that movie. Now, with The Last Jedi, a lot of backlash came with it that affected the soloist Star Wars story box office results, which hence changed Disney's whole entire plan of the future of the Star Wars franchise. However, recently, in a recent interview, if you guys would like to go ahead and check out the full interview, it will be linked below in the description. In a recent interview, Mark Hamill actually talked about the fan criticism of Luke Skywalker and what Mark Hamill talked about Luke Skywalker before in the past. Now, this is what he had to say. The thing is, Luke changed so much between the first trilogy and the last trilogy. I got myself into trouble. I made a vow. I said that I'm not going to talk about the movies anymore, because I think it's important for the audience to see them. My problem was, I wasn't dealing with social media back then, where you say something and it goes around the world in 24 hours. If I were to answer your question on paper, I'd think, oh, that sounds a little strong, or I shouldn't say this, but I have a tendency just to talk and talk and talk, and you can cherry pick, you know. I'll be reading something and say, what moron said this, and then realize, oh, it's me. They can take selective comments you've made out of context and use it to support their argument. See, Mark Hamill hated Star Wars. He says, did I? He goes on to say, I was once describing Star Wars fans and I said, they're passionate, they're opinionated, and they feel a sense of ownership because they've invested so much time in these characters and these stories, and I realized I was describing myself. It can get you into trouble because I don't understand the storylines. I'm sort of like a musician. I read the music and I try to play it the best of my ability. That doesn't necessarily mean I like the tune, but that's not my job. That doesn't necessarily mean I like the tune, but that's not my job, Mark Hamill says. So take note of that little quote there. Now, he goes on to talk about Han Solo's death in The Force Awakens. He states, I just thought Luke's never going to see his best friend again. You look at it in a self-centered way. I said that it was going to be a big mistake, that those three people would never reunite in any way. I guess I was wrong, because nobody seems to care. I have to stipulate that I care, but it didn't really seem to affect the larger audience. Luke, Han, and Leia will never be together again, and I'll probably never get to work with Harrison again. Then the second thing was that they killed me off. I thought, oh, okay, you should push my death off to the last one. That's what I was hoping when I came back. No cameos and a run of the trilogy contract. Did I get any of those things? Because as far as I'm concerned, the end of Episode 7 is really the beginning of Episode 8. I got one movie. They totally hornswoggled, tricked me. And then he goes on to say this, listen, I never expected to come back. We had a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's what I said. Why mess with it? It's not something that worries me because it's all about the new generation as it should be. And he goes on to say that he pretty much told Rian Johnson to make some changes in The Last Jedi. They have me walking by C-3PO, not even acknowledging him, I said. And he states, I can't do that. He, The Last Jedi's director Rian Johnson, said, okay, go over and do whatever. So I went over, Mark Hamill says, and I did whatever. They say it in the script, forget the past, kill it if you have to. And they're doing a pretty good job. So that's all what Mark Hamill had to say in this recent interview. If you guys want to go ahead and check it out below in the description, he also talks about his new hit TV series coming out in, I believe it's on the History Channel. It's called Nightfall Season 2. It's a medieval set TV show. So the thing is this, he responds to the fan criticism here. He responds to how it was a big mistake by Disney and Lucasfilm for killing off, not only Han Solo, but also for killing off Luke Skywalker at the very end of Episode 8 and how he wanted to come back in Episode 9, alive and well, of course. So, with that being said, like I say, he was talking about the criticism of Luke Skywalker, the fan backlash, how the fans feel about these movies, how they feel about these movies, which, he was pretty specific about everything. But what I found the most interesting out of all of this is that, yes, he does admit that he does have problems with, of course, how things are going with the sequel trilogy, but does he necessarily hate Star Wars? He seems to be denying that at the same exact time, while really having nothing good to say in this interview. Nothing entirely great, right? Nothing very, very good, or, very optimistic out of him. So, when we look at Luke Skywalker coming back in this movie, we do know that he's coming back in the form of flashbacks and in the form of a Force ghost. So, that's probably why Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill said that his character Luke was basically in one movie, being alive and well. He was basically in episode 7 at the very end, which he calls at the beginning of episode 8, which makes sense. There's no time jump or time gap. And then in, of course, The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker dies at the very end of the movie. So what do you guys have to say about this interview? I would love to hear what you have to say, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.